Hi, my name is Frank Schaeffer, and I grew up in a family that was very famous at one point in certain circles, evangelical American white right-wing circles, because of my father, Francis Schaeffer, who along with Dr. C. Everett Koop really was the founder of the evangelical version of the anti-abortion movement. And I made a film series at that time in my young 20s, I'm 70 now, which pushed forward his ideas. And I look back with some horror at what we did in terms of turning America toward the right wing. But today I want to talk about something else as a culture and social observer of this country. And that is that in opening the door to the right wing and being funded by many millionaires and billionaires like Richard DeVos, who started Amway, who funded one right-wing cause after another, whose daughter-in-law was in the Trump administration, and all our close connections to both evangelical and right-wing and Republican political leaders, I have observed something over time, and that is that we have a billionaire problem. And this billionaire problem is now exacerbated because, of course, the tech bros that have become rich in the tech business now also control our lives in so many ways. The billionaire problem is one that goes back in history, and it combines with the fame problem and the culture problems. You know, Lindbergh was famous because of his flight across the Atlantic, and then had a big fan base. Today, on Twitter, for instance, he would have had tens of millions of followers. And then he turned to the hard right, using his platform to boost the fascist movements around the world and the rise of National Socialism in Germany and all the rest of it. A billionaire problem, as it were. Today, we face the same thing with Elon Musk, who has taken over Twitter. A billionaire problem. When I talk about the billionaire problem, weirdly enough, I'm not a billionaire or close to it, but it's something I understand, and that is fame and power and narcissism all are combined to go to your head and really turn you into a fool. I experienced this long after I stopped believing in the evangelical message I was selling through right-wing media and books and appearances on the Today Show and all these other places that I was as the son of a famous evangelical. Long after I'd stopped believing in it, the very access to power, the drug of, if you like, of having my ego fed all the time, almost kept me permanently in that world. But I bailed because at one point I had a real crisis of conscience. It wasn't good for my family. My kids and my wife were pushing in the other direction, and thank God I was able to get out more than 30 years ago and really change sides in the culture war, step down from this sort of ego-driven position of power and reaction. You know how I used to judge people? And I see it in Elon Musk and these other billionaires. It was really simple. The ones who liked me were great, and anybody who contradicted me was the enemy. I know it, I've been there, I see it. The good news was, though, I never had tens of billions of dollars to back up my craziness. I wasn't able to do things like fire the tech writers from the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN if they crossed what I wanted to do. I wasn't in a position to hound people online and unleash tens of millions of angry followers to hound them, to threaten them in the way that these billionaires are able to do, Musk in particular. So it isn't just that Elon Musk has turned to the right and that he's become a kind of a tacit ally to all these crazies. It is much more a psychological problem in which he is undoing himself, Tesla, SpaceX, and so forth. The only way to solve this billionaire problem is to isolate these billionaires and cut them off. And the only way to do that with people like Donald Trump is to quit voting for him. But when it comes to Elon Musk and these other tech giants, is to defund them. And the way to do that is, for instance, with SpaceX and Starlink and Tesla, stop giving them US government contracts using my tax dollars and your tax dollars to pay for these egocentric billionaire behaviors that are really undermining our democracy. It is ridiculous, the concentration of power, wealth in one set of hands like Elon Musk, or for that matter, any of these other tech billionaires and companies. It's really outrageous that the US government is sponsoring these folks' egos by funding things like SpaceX and Tesla and all these other products that they take credit for as if their geniuses created them, when actually it's the government contracts that are keeping these guys in business. And so we have a billionaire problem. Let's recognize it. Let's realize that they cannot be cured unless they have a change of heart and convert, as it were, to a new kind of humility. But in the meantime, the rest of us don't have to pay for their insanity. Thank you. My name is Frank Schaeffer.